Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? I'm Dinah. I will be hosting today's Crash Course in Infographics. If you can send me a quick response in the chat window just to let me know that you can hear me, that would be great. And then I'll know that we can go ahead and get started without any technical issues. Okay, great. Thank you for the confirmations. Thanks for the thumbs up, Michael. Great. Thank you so much. Okay, so if everyone could take just a brief moment to introduce themselves in the chat window, that would be great. I know some people have already done so. If you want, let us know where you're from. That's always interesting to know. And if you want to let us know as well, why you're interested in creating infographics, or if you've created infographics in the past, what types of infographics you typically create. This crash course is definitely an introduction to infographics, more of a beginner type course to get you started, especially if you've used the Easily Designer before and maybe kind of struggled with, doing your research and organizing all the content in an infographic. So we'll walk you through all of those steps. Before we go ahead and take a deep dive into all of our content, I do want to do some housekeeping items. So first off, I do want to introduce my colleague, Latasha Doyle. She is in the chat window and she is helping me out today to monitor today's crash course, and she will be responding to any questions or comments that do come through in the chat window. So if you'd like, feel free to go ahead and let her know hello and introduce yourself. So that would be great. Thank you for the responses already. Katie, you're a researcher from New Jersey, interested in starting to use infographics. Mel from Dover, Delaware, copywriter, need a little bit more training in infographics. Thanks for sharing. And let's see, I'm going to go up a little bit here. Lenore from Columbus, Ohio, just starting to learn what infographics are. So welcome. And I know that I'm sure everyone has seen some type of an infographic on the internet, through social media, through an organization. So, we'll discuss it a little bit more, of course. Okay, thank you for all of the responses. Okay, so we are also going to give you a little bit more detail on how to use the Crowdcast platform in case you're new to using Crowdcast and you've never attended a live event with us here before or have never used it. So right underneath this video window, you're going to see a link that says questions and answers. This is an excellent place to go ahead and put specific questions that you might have. I'm going to come to this towards the very end. Hopefully, I might address some of these questions along the way. Hopefully that's the case, but I will certainly come back to these at the very end. Sometimes, we may go past a little bit, past the hour, and it's mainly just to make sure we at least address some of these questions. If there's a question that I can't answer, or Latasha and I can't answer, then we'll do our best to find an answer for you and come back to this page once again to answer it and place it in the comments section. You can always reach out to us as well if you'd like, at Easily through our support. I'll give you my email at the end. You may have received it in your inbox as well, or you can reach out to Latasha as well. Next to the questions and answers, again, in this area right below the video window, you'll see that there's a link to polls. If you can go ahead and just let me know who you are, who's here today. I know you've taken the time to introduce yourself, but some people may not have responded in the chat window. Just go ahead and let us know if you're a professional, maybe your business, a specific industry, if you're a small business owner or entrepreneur, if you're in the nonprofit space, if you're in higher ed as a professor or even a student. I know we often get educators on the call, librarian and media specialists. So just give us some information. And then also, if you don't really fall into any of these categories, again, feel free to go ahead and let us know who you are in the chat window. Okay. It's also helpful for me to know, what your experience is with Easly. So if, you've never used it before, don't even know what it is, if you've used it a little and you just kind of need a little bit more information, let us know. That's great. If you've used it all the time, that's also helpful. And if you have any comments or any tips to suggest, feel free to go ahead and do that in the comments window. I learn every day from our customers as well. So I'm always learning new tips and tricks from people using our Easly design tool. So feel free to go ahead and share that. I'm sure someone will appreciate whatever experience you've had with it as well. Okay, great. And I'm going to apologize in advance. I'm in the middle of having a cold, so my voice is a little hoarse. I'll do my best to go ahead and mute my microphone whenever I feel a cough coming on, but I am apologizing in advance. Okay, so I am thinking that anyone who's going to be joining us at this point probably already has, and I'm glad that we've had a chance to walk through some of our housekeeping items. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to minimize my video screen, and I'm going to maximize my presentation as well as my web browser so that you can follow along a little bit better. Okay, so give me just 1 second and bear with me here as I make a few adjustments. Okay, all right. And let me just go through the comments section here just to see if we're all on point. Okay, great. Looks like people are making connections with each other. Okay, a few more people have joined. Liz and Mike, Mohammed, Anil, Nicole, Agos, Maria, thank you all for joining in the last few minutes. Awesome, thank you. Okay, so I am going to get started here. Now, this Crash Course in Infographics webinar is based off of our Crash Course in Infographics ebook. And if you're not familiar with our ebook, you can access it from our Easly design tool on the homepage. And on the homepage, if you go to www.easly, you'll see that there is a link to the Crash Course in Infographics ebook right there. So that's an easy place to get it. We'll certainly go ahead and send a link out to the ebook as well. You'll also see that there is a link to the Infographics in the Classroom ebook. So I know we have some educators here on the call. So if you're interested in learning more about how you can incorporate infographics in the classroom, that is also a good resource. Just to show you what these ebooks look like, this is the Crash Course in Infographics ebook. That's 13-page document, but it will give you a little bit more details beyond what we're covering here today, of course. And the Infographics for Your Classroom ebook is a 20-page ebook, and will give you some more information about incorporating infographics in the classroom. Okay, if you need any assistance after today's webinar, or you want to get some more tips and tricks on building infographics, suggestions for other uses, maybe some tutorials on how to use specific tools within Easly, you'll see that there is an Easly channel that we have loaded all of these videos to. So you're welcome to explore all of the videos. You'll see that they're organized by our archived webinars, as well as our tutorials, as well as our video tips and tricks. So you're welcome to explore those a little bit further. Okay. All right. So let's get started here. So infographics, they are very, very popular. People are continually making them, and you're probably to the point where you're thinking, okay, I've got to start using infographics myself to really reach an audience. And your audience can be your customers, your followers on social media. It can be your students. It can even be students themselves trying to reach their peers. So really, it's really important for us to get a better understanding of, how important it is to communicate as much information visually as we can. Now, not everything can be communicated visually in terms of the depth of some content. But in order to be able to engage people a little bit more in your content, you really can create visuals for sections or pieces of content that you have. So it's important for us to remember that humans really are visual creatures, and visuals improve learning by up to 400%. Now, people are learning every single day. So you don't want to just think that, things like infographics are just for students. Every single person is, on the internet or getting an email or reading an article, whether it's in print or if it's online. The content, if you can try and communicate some of that content visually to explain something a little bit better, it really can go a long way. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about infographics. So again, if you don't really know what infographics are, or you're completely new to infographics, they are graphic and visual representations of information, data, or knowledge that's intended to present information very quickly and very clearly. Now, sometimes you'll see a lot of infographics that are very data heavy, and you'll see some infographics that may not have any numbers or figures. It may just be ideas that are being communicated in an infographic. So it really depends on the information and the content that you're looking to share, educate, and inform individuals about. So when you're building an infographic, there are three main questions that you really want to ask yourself. So who are you looking to inform? Is it students? Is it your social media followers? Is it your customer base? Who is it that you're looking to inform? And you really want to get a better understanding as to who your target audience is. And it's very possible that you may need to create different pieces of content or infographics for different target audiences in your area. So you'll definitely want to think about that. And that's really going to drive the type of design and the information that you're even going to share. Also want to think about, what are you looking to inform about? Are you looking to inform about your business, your industry, a topic, something that students need to learn in the classroom, based off of curriculum? There's so many different things that you can inform your audience about. And, this is where you might have a running list. So you may want to keep a journal handy to jot down all of your ideas. You may already have information that is written in text form. So go back to that content and see what you can maybe create in a visual way. Now, lastly, you want to ask yourself, why do you want to inform? Why do you even want to create an infographic? There's no sense in going through the process of creating an infographic if you don't have an end goal in mind. So are you looking to drive students to more information on a topic to learn more? Are you just trying to get them hooked into it? Are you looking to build your customer base? So maybe you're looking to promote your own services in an infographic. Are you looking to inform customers about information in a particular industry? Are you looking to build your social media followership? So, you really want to know what your end goal is. And again, that's really going to drive what type of infographic you build, the information that you share, and also get to the very last call to action within that infographic. Okay, so how many of you already have an idea for an infographic? If you already have an idea for an infographic, then you may not necessarily need to walk through this step. But for some of you who don't really know where to generate ideas for an infographic, you might need a little help to get started. So where can you go to generate ideas for an infographic? Now, there are so many different places that you can go. These are just a few suggestions to consider to get you started. If you have any suggestions, feel free to go ahead and submit those in the chat box and let us know where you get your inspiration for infographics. Now, you can use the news. This is really the best way to go ahead and generate ideas for an infographic. Any news that's trending, anything that just comes out, oftentimes is based off of some existing data that is out there or new data that has been released. oftentimes not all of the data is being used in that. So when you're taking a look at the news and you're seeing new data is being pushed out, take a look at what the original source is and maybe go back to that original source and see what other information you can pull to add to that trending topic. Another thing to consider is that you may want to visit your local library, whether it's public, academic library, school library, even your state, or might have a library where there are multiple databases that are available. I suggest this because oftentimes people kind of keep to the information that's available on the open web. Now think about this. Everyone has access to that content. Libraries have access to subscription databases of very credible content, peer-reviewed content that not everyone has available and accessible, but that's already been paid for. So if you're a member of that library, then you can go ahead and access that content because it's already been paid for through the library. So think of the library as another source. And also librarians are a great resource to be able to direct you to credible content that you can use in your infographic. Okay, you can also check what's trending. So Reddit, Twitter, and Facebook, all of those social media platforms will showcase what's popular and what's trending through their trending topics section. Now, this is great because you can get an idea as to what's really popular, what's really resonating right now with people. And if you can find a way to connect your industry, your expertise, your information, your content to what's trending, then you really are creating something unique and you can build something in an infographic. And you don't necessarily have to create a very large infographic. You might just be taking a piece of information, making it visual, and then pushing it out to your group to start a conversation. So think about that as well. Another good thing to do is just explore existing infographics. So on Google Images or Pinterest, or you can visit an infographic directory to get an idea as to what infographics are being created based off of your industry, your topic, and just simply do a search for infographics and then enter your keyword for your industry or topic and get a feel for what's coming through. There's definitely an opportunity for you to put your own spin or twist or your opinion on a topic through your own infographic. So I'm not necessarily saying, go out and copy infographics that are already in existence. Just get an idea as to what's out there, what people are resonating with, and how can you put your 2 cents in by creating your own visual element with your own opinions and your own information, your own spin to it. You can also go to something like helpareporter.com. You can sign up for a newsletter, and it is a way for you to get an understanding as to what the media is interested in, things that they want to get some more information on, what they want to build their media reports on. And so if you already know their interests in pushing content out and what's trending for them, or what could be trending, then you get yourself ahead of the curve and you can put out infographics based off of these media opportunities that these reporters are seeking out. You can also lean on your own expertise. So if you are an industry expert or this is a great way for you to showcase your thought leadership and provide your own perspective on a topic. So anything that maybe you've written, if you've written an article, if you've written a blog, again, take a look back at what you've written and see what you can communicate visually to your audience. Now, for our educators on the call here today, this is a great opportunity to challenge your students and ask them, what do they think they're an expert in? And, have them build out an infographic on a topic or a process that they think that they're an expert in. Now, for, younger students, it can be something very simple, like, how do I make a bowl of cereal in the morning? But then challenge your maybe high school students to, do something a little bit more complex. So you really can, take this idea and, work with it with some of your younger students as well. Okay, so I'm going to go through this slide here, and then I'll probably pause for a little break just to see if there are any questions coming through. Okay, so basic infographic structure. Now, this looks very much like a paper, and an infographic in the sense in terms of the skeleton or base of an infographic is very similar to a paper. You really want to have organized thoughts when you're putting an infographic together, very much like you're going to organize your thoughts for a paper. So this is very basic. So just kind of keep this in mind, and just know that even though this information, of course, is linear top to bottom, you really can design your infographics visually by kind of moving the segments around, but ultimately you're really going to want to keep the structure in mind. So you're always going to want to have a title or a topic that is, prominent within your infographic, so people clearly know what your infographic is about. This seems like a no-brainer, of course, but sometimes people might have their title and it's very, very small, or the title just isn't clear as to what it's going to be. So just keep this in mind, and also make sure it's catchy. You want people to be caught by the title and then brought in with your infographic. So it's definitely important to take a little bit of time with that. You're also going to want to provide a brief introduction to your topic. This can be a few words. It can be one sentence. I probably wouldn't make it longer than 2 sentences, 3 sentences maybe, if it's maybe a little bit more complex topic. But you're going to want to provide a brief introduction to the topic. So you want to provide that context behind the infographic. So people read the title, and then they read just the brief introduction so that they get a better understanding of the basic information that they need to understand before they start to walk through your infographic. They need to have that context. So the meat of the infographic, or the main section of your infographic, and this is again going to be prominent within your infographic, is where you provide your examples and your facts to support your topic or your argument. Now, for a bigger infographic, of course, you're going to have multiple examples, multiple facts to support. But keep in mind that it's very possible that you may be creating little mini infographics for social media just to kind of reel people in. So, you may only have like one statistic or fact or statement that you're making in a visual. So again, that part will be prominent within your infographic. Lastly, you want to summarize or maybe reinforce your argument or provide a call to action at the very end of the infographic. Going back to the 3 questions that we discussed at the very beginning, we talked about, why you're even creating this infographic. What's your ultimate goal? So this is really, why we're asking ourselves that question. So at the very end, what do you want people to do after they examine your infographic, after they've engaged with your infographic? Do you want them to visit your business's website? Do you want them to follow you on social media? Do you want them to maybe explore more videos on YouTube? Do you want to direct students to more information on a topic on another website? There's so many different things that you may want your audience to do ultimately after they've engaged with your infographic. So again, think about that end goal. What are you trying to actually do with your infographic? And then that's really going to be your call to action. Okay, so this is where I take a little bit of a break, and I just want to check in with the group and see if there are any questions based off of the information that I'm covering here. So I'm gonna, just to give you an idea as to what we're going through next, we're gonna talk about some of the most common types of infographics, and then we are going to discuss Easily Pro, of course, for people who are interested in learning a little bit more about Easily, some best practices, and then we will certainly walk through the Easily Designer, but just want to make sure that, we're all on the same page here. Okay, it looks like Latasha's confirming that it seems like there aren't any questions coming through, so it looks like we're just going to keep moving along. Thank you, Latasha. Okay, so let's discuss 7 of the most Common types of infographics. Now, this isn't all of the infographics out there, but if you're new to infographics, hopefully this gives you an idea of how you can organize your information and how you can represent your information and your data to your audience. So the very first one I always like to start off with is the list. And I do this because, it's one of the easiest infographics to create. And we've all built lists before. We all deal with lists on a daily basis. And if it's something that you need to communicate to your audience, then, it's an easy way to be able to build something visually. So a list supports a claim through a series of steps. So it can be a process, it can be steps in a process, it can just be a list of items or a checklist. Now, when you think of a list, oftentimes people think of a list that goes from top to bottom, but when you're creating an infographic, see how you can make it more interesting, and maybe you can make it move across the page. And this is a template that's available in Easy Pro, and all of the examples I'll be showing you are actual infographic templates, just to show you how you can organize your content visually in an infographic. Okay, so number 2, the comparison infographic, or the versus infographic, is going to compare two things in a head-to-head study. Now, you can compare two similar things and show how they're different, or you can compare two different things and showcase how they're very similar. You may want to end your infographic with your opinion as to why one item is superior to another, vice versa, or you could leave it open-ended. And if you leave it open-ended, it allows room for discussion. So, this is a template here, just as an example. It's asking, which is the best way to take notes, handwritten notes versus typed notes. And of course, it gives the pros and the cons of each. And, this is something that can be used to open up a discussion, because it doesn't necessarily end with an actual suggestion saying you have to handwrite your notes or you have to type your notes. So it kind of leaves the reader open to interpret and maybe start a discussion. Okay, the flow chart. It provides an answer to a question via reader choices. Now, a flow chart is, again, something that we have experienced, whether you get a flow chart with a hierarchy of all of the individuals within a business, or if you've seen a flow chart for a process or a step in an operation, or if it is, a process in, an application, software application. So it's very similar to a list, but if you're going to have different options along the way, then the flow chart can direct your reader to the different options based off of a particular scenario. Again, this is a template on the creative process. And, where you start is, your research or your inspiration, all the way down to your final idea. Of course, depending on where you're at, you can see that there's many different options. And, think about the flow chart and see if that is a good way of organizing your information and your content. Now, the visual article, it makes a piece of writing more visual and interesting. And this is something that is easy to do, because if you've already written articles, you have blog posts already, why not just go back to your blog posts, existing blog posts, and see how you can turn the content into a visualization. So again, you don't necessarily have to create an entire infographic for all of your content. Maybe you just want to create an infographic for a section of the content that you think would really resonate with your audience to keep them engaged in your article. Now, this one is this is a template on food trends, and you can see how this could easily be maybe a full article where you get more details on established trends, emerging trends, hot trends, and you get that more detail. But an image like that maybe hooks me into the article and it makes me more interested in wanting to learn more. And you could see how maybe this infographic could even be broken up into segments as well. Okay, the map infographic is going to showcase data trends based on location, based on geography. This is really good if you have maybe business data or sales data that you really want to tie to a certain geography. If you have demographic information that you're looking to organize, you know, demographic information is a great way to be able to showcase and pinpoint on a specific geographic location. So there's many different ways to do this. Of course, I have an example here for the globe, but you may want to do something more local, whether it's your state. These are icons that you can find in easily, you know, but you can certainly go ahead and upload your own geographic location or the image of that and then place the information and the data on top. Okay, so a data visualization, it communicates data through charts, graphs, and or design. And I like to showcase this particular template here because, you know, you'll see that the information, you know, is represented in a bar graph, but you'll also see that in addition to that, you're seeing the profiles of the male and the female drinking water, and you'll see that by design, that design is essentially that bar graph being matched up to it. So this is a little bit of a more advanced design technique, but if you think about how you can do that, you know, it really can be an engaging infographic. But you can always just use your standard, you know, pie chart and bar graphs, of course, if you'd like. Okay, the last one I'd like to showcase is the timeline. And the timeline tells a story through chronological flow. Now, it can be a company timeline, it can be your own personal timeline, it can be a topic in history that you're covering. So a company timeline is very interesting if, you know, if you're a business owner and you're looking to showcase, you know, where you started and where you're at today. You know, you can really pinpoint all of that in an infographic, especially if people are interested in learning a little bit more about that. Maybe you can post it onto your about page, or you can share it with new customers, of course. So there's many different things that you can do and many different ways that you can create this. For the educators on our call, this is also an easy way to get started with infographics when working with students. It's very likely that you may have a task where you're asking them to create some type of a timeline, whether it's a history topic, you know, as an example, you know, creating an infographic for that timeline could be an interesting and an engaging activity for them. Okay, so let's just go over some of the key steps to building an infographic. So, you know, we talked a little bit about considering your audience, and let's just kind of review some of this information, and we'll kind of go through the slide a little faster. But you're going to want to definitely create an outline, and you know, while you're brainstorming, consider your audience, narrow down your topic. You know, there's only so much space on an infographic, so you're really going to want to be very specific in the topic that you're choosing. And I know that you do this all the time when you're, you know, writing an article, writing a research paper, but it's even more important in an infographic to do this because, again, there's limited space, there's going to be very little text. So really, you know, you're really going to narrow down your topic to more of like an idea. But similar to writing a paper, you're still going to want to create that thesis or question, and you're going to want to include maybe your opinion, and then, you know, provide the data and the information to support that. So through that process, of course, you're going to be gathering your sources, gathering your data, and then you're going to want to narrow down the sources and the data that you choose to be able to showcase that information. Now, you're going to want to also tell a story. People are very interested in stories, and that's what's going to hook them into your infographic. So think about how you organize the content and how you can maybe tell a story with that. Now, when you're designing your infographic, of course, for many of us, we may not all be designers or have the skill set that a designer might have. So here are just some basic things to consider. Use as many images for words that you're using in your infographic. And, you're going to want to limit your colors and your fonts. You don't want to put too many colors and too many different fonts, because it kind of looks unorganized and jumbled up and a little messy. So if you limit your colors and fonts, we suggest maybe 2 to 3 colors, maybe 2 fonts, maybe 3 max, of course, depending on your infographic, but really less is more. You also just want to take an overall look at your infographic and just take a look, see, is it viewable, is it legible? If you can't really follow along, then people engaging with your infographic definitely won't be able to follow along. And then also keep in mind that white space is good. You don't have to fill every little nook and cranny on your canvas for the infographic. You may want to consider just making your icons and your graphics larger as opposed to making them smaller and trying to cram as much information in. And that goes back to just making sure your topic is narrowed down as much as possible. You can always direct people to more detailed information in a report or an article. Okay. Lastly, you're going to want to ensure your quality. Now, you've probably were already making sure that you are using accurate data along the way when you're gathering your sources. But before you post your infographic, what you're double checking here is that, you didn't put the decimal point in a wrong place. You didn't add too many zeros to make your information inaccurate. So that's what you're checking for before you go ahead and post it. You're also going to want to credit your sources. Make sure you're posting the sources so that people can refer back to the original data sources and explore that a little bit more if they need to. And then definitely sign it, credit yourself, put your company logo on it, put your a link to your website, put any information in there that you'd like, that you want people to be able to refer back to. And then lastly, don't forget your call to action. We talked a lot about that. Just make sure that, it's very clear what you want your audience to do. Okay. I won't go through all of these because this is kind of an overview of what we just discussed here. But the one thing that I do want to explain, with the 6 best practices here, is that size matters with your infographic. Now, I know that many of you may have seen infographics that are very, very, very long, and you have to scroll through it. And some of them are really well done and will keep you engaged all the way until you scroll down. Now, we suggest, of course, trying to keep your infographic small, just making sure you narrow it down. And the reason we do that is that if you're creating this infographic and you're going through the trouble of creating all of it, then you want to make sure that people can at least get to that call to action, whether it's going to your website, your original article with more information. If it's a very, very long infographic, the risk that you run is that they may not get all the way to the very end where you have your call to action. So, just think about the content that you're sharing and ask yourself, will people scroll all the way down through this where they'll see my call to action? So again, size matters. If you need to build out multiple infographics and share each one, in pieces, that could be an idea. Okay, so if you're new to Easily, and I think quite a few people answered the poll that you're not familiar with Easily, have never used it before. Easily is an infographic design tool, but it's more than just infographics. You really can build out any visual within Easily, even if it's just a small little visual that is going to communicate your idea. And it is nice because there are various templates that you can browse and get inspiration and ideas from, and you can use those templates and customize them and make them work for you. you can even start fresh with a clean canvas and start from scratch. Our design tool is easy. It's just a matter of dragging and dropping images onto the canvas and then adjusting the design of the objects, the text, all of that to really make it custom for your infographic. And then from Easily, you can also save the image in JPEG, and you can share it. We'll provide links that you can share through social media. And then if you're an educator, you can even present your infographic within our design tool or have students present their infographic from within our design tool as well. Okay, so before I launch into Easily, to give you a quick walkthrough of how Easily is used, I know some of you, if you are only using the basic version and you're interested in possibly going pro, I do want to provide you with a little bit of information. It is only $3 a month, so $36 a year. It's very affordable considering all of the images and icons and even stock images that you get. You'll get more fonts that you can work with, and you'll get more templates as well. You'll even be able to have access to our design team and maybe get some suggestions as to how you can improve the design of your infographic before you release it out to the world. So there really are a lot of benefits to going pro. You can always use the free version as much as you'd like, but once you get to the point where you need more icons and images, it really is a value at only $3 a month. Now, these are just examples of some of the icons that you get with Pro. Here are some people icons. So you'll see that there's many different styles to choose from. There's technology icons. We have food icons. We have health icons. We have business icons. So you'll see that there are just so many different icons to work with based off of the industry that you're in. And these are just a few of the examples that I wanted to showcase. So there's a lot to work with. You also have the templates or illustrations that are free to use. All of the elements within the templates and the illustrations are individually placed on there, so you can delete individual elements and replace them for other icons that you think would work best. I personally like the templates because it really gives me an idea as how I can organize information and content, and it really is a good starting point, especially for people who don't have that design background or experience. And our templates are really for everyone. You'll see that there are a variety of different templates. We have Fortune 500 businesses using our templates, even small businesses and bloggers. We have students using our templates as well as nonprofit organizations. So again, if you're interested in going pro, you can trial it. There is a button underneath this video window. You'll see that there's a green button. You can go ahead and click on it, and it says Go Pro free 14-day trial. That's a great way to test it out and see if it's right for you and your needs. And we do have discounts for our nonprofit organizations and teachers. So for an individual business owner, for a per user use, it's $36 a year, $3 a month. So again, it's very affordable. But we recognize that teachers and nonprofits may have limited budgets as well. So, we do want to recognize that. If you want to contact us directly for that discount and get that coupon, feel free to email me or email our support. You really can get in touch with anyone, and we'll direct you to more information about that coupon. But for nonprofits, it's only $18 a year per user. For teachers, it's $18 a year per user. And for teachers who are interested in sharing the pro experience with their students, so they have all the access to all the icons and the images, it's $36 a year. But you also get access to 30 pro accounts for students. And what's nice about it is that oftentimes, students who go on the web and they're searching for images, and they're just kind of pulling images and they're not really sure if they're free to use or safely use. And so having the images already in Easily Pro really makes a lot of sense for teachers. Okay. All right. Lastly, I do want to also showcase a new service that we have. We do have an infographic design service. So we recognize that, everyone is busy. And so, we do have a way for you to be able to provide us your information that you want put into an infographic. And then we will go ahead and design that for you. It's a really fast. We'll have our designer get in touch with you, and we'll design a custom infographic for your topic or your company or your industry. And what's nice about it is that once you get that template created, you'll be able to reuse that template in the future. So for example, if you have a template that you're creating and it's for quarterly data or yearly information, you'll have the original that we create for you, but when you go into Easily, you'll be able to pull up that template and then switch out the numbers for that year or that quarter or that month, whatever that might be. So it's a template that you can reuse, but it will be designed and it will look good. So definitely consider that. And we'll provide information to that design service in an email for everyone who's registered here today. Okay, so if you have questions, I am going to put up my information here, but I am going to still walk you through Easily. So in the next, about 15 minutes or so, I'm going to quickly walk you through the design tool so you get a better understanding of it. But first, I know some people start to kind of hop off the call, so I wanted to at least give you our information here. You can follow us on our blog. You can email us at support@easily if you ever need any assistance. You can email me after today's webinar if you have any questions or if you'd like to connect, if you have ideas for a webinar, feedback, anything you'd like to talk to me about, feel free to go ahead and email me there. And I am going to, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and pull up Easily and the design tool. And for people who want a more in-depth training on the Easily design tool, I do have a full webinar where I just spend the entire time in the design tool. You can find those recordings on YouTube, of course. So once you log in, and I already took the time to log in, you'll see that there is a My Visual section. This is an image carousel of all of the visuals that you've created in Easily. You'll see that I have a mix of standard infographics, but you'll see that I also use it for a lot of things. I use it for some images that I use within Easily to promote my webinars. So there's many different ways beyond infographics that you can use it. So something to think about. And then once you scroll down below, you'll see that there is a way to browse templates and other existing visuals that have been created. But there's this button here to start fresh. So this is a way for you to start with a clean canvas. And this is going to take us into our design tool. And this will give you just a few instructions here to get started, but you can always just go ahead and clear your canvas at any time. So if you get started and you just want to scrap everything, just click on the clear button and you'll be able to start with a blank canvas. Once you're in the design tool, you'll actually have all of the templates to explore. There's a drop-down menu. And again, I have a pro account. So what you're seeing here is what's in the paid version. So for those of you who may only have a basic account, you're going to see a lot more here in my demonstration than what you may have access to. Okay, so you'll see that there are resume templates that you can explore. We have timeline templates, process templates. We have health-related templates. We have real estate templates. So there's a lot to explore. And I'm just going to go ahead and pull one in as an example. And it's just a matter of finding a template and then dragging it onto your canvas. And it looks like it's just taking a little bit of time to load. I might have to refresh my page because it's been sitting idle for a while here. But you'll see here that here's an infographic. Now, all of the elements within the infographic are items that can be selected. And you can enlarge an element, shrink an element. You can move elements around. You can go ahead and flip elements if you need to. You can, of course, delete any element. So if you don't want 1, and then you can go ahead and do that. The text, of course, same thing. You just take the text, double click on the text, and then you can go ahead and delete the existing text that is there and put your information in. Now, the text that is being used, of course, you can leave it as is, but you can manipulate it as well. So if you're taking a look at your text here, if you wanted to change the color of your text and, let's say we wanted to turn this into a pink color, then you can do that. You can enlarge your text. You can change the font on your text. You'll get more fonts with the Pro account version, of course. You'll also be able to change the size of your text if you need to. So there's really a lot that you can do. Oftentimes, people will take a look at the templates and, kind of insert a few changes in there, but really, you really can customize the color, the background, and add different objects to it. Now, the objects button will allow you to browse different objects. So all of the examples I shared with you were just a few of the examples. There really are so many more examples to explore. So all of the objects are categorized. You can also even do a search for something very specific. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead, click into something like food. And I am going to open up this window here, and this is a menu that I can scroll through and I can explore all of the different food item choices. Now, browsing is great if you're not really sure what's available, but you can just go ahead and do a search for a specific item. So if you're looking for something like bread specifically, then enter the word bread, and then you can see all of the images that represent bread. Or you can put salad and see what images come up for salad. Just keep in mind that you may need to use different keywords to find different objects or different types of images to represent an idea or a concept. Okay. And once you find an object you're interested in using, again, just drag, drop it. You can enlarge the images, and what's nice is you can enlarge these images as much as you need to. You do not need to worry about your images and the pixelization that happens when you enlarge some images. You can go ahead and enlarge these as much as you want. Depending on the object and the image that is being used, some of the objects you'll be able to go ahead and change the colors of. If an object has multiple colors, then you're not going to be able to change the colors of those. But if it's just a standard black icon object, so I'm just going to search for one here as an example. See what I can pull up here. Okay, so if I click on this object, if an object can, if you can change the color of an object, then you'll see that in your menu. So if I wanted to change this to, say yellow, I could change this object to yellow. Okay, so you'll, if you're using some of the objects and you see a lot of black objects, if they're just one color, then think about how you can design and change the color of that to match the color scheme of the rest of your infographic. Okay, so another thing that I'd like to showcase is the media. So with the Pro account, you do have access to stock photos, and you are able to add stock photos to your images. So, that's certainly something that might be of interest to you if you prefer to use or create some type of a photo infographic. So you can always upload your own images, and that's certainly an option, but we do have stock photos that are available with your Pro subscription, and they're all royalty free. You can go ahead and use them in your infographic, and you can also use them commercially as well. So that's all included in the subscription for your Pro account. So you don't need to give any credit or, put the source in there. There's nothing that you need to do. You can just go ahead and freely use all of the stock images that are in there. Okay. All right. I won't go through all of the steps of this, but I will just showcase. You can also add YouTube videos. Just drop a YouTube URL in here. So if you wanted to add a tutorial, educators might have a tutorial you want to showcase to your students, you can add that in there. Just grab the YouTube link. If you have an explainer video for your business and you already have that, you can go ahead and embed that in an infographic. The only thing is you just want to keep in mind how you're going to be sharing your infographic, because YouTube can only be watched if you're online, you have internet access. So if someone is online, then they'll be able to watch that video. If you download an image of your infographic, such as a JPEG image or a PNG image or a PDF, a YouTube video is not going to work in that. So just think about how you're going to be sharing your infographic and before you go ahead and insert a YouTube video into it. Now, there are some other customization tools here, like drawing and adding shapes, adding text to your infographic. I won't spend a whole lot of time on it because I'm quickly running out of time here, but I will point out this charts feature. So if you do have some hard data that you wanted to include in an infographic, you can go ahead and drag and drop. And you can import your data. Oh. So if you have a Google spreadsheet and if you have an Excel spreadsheet, you can go ahead and upload that. If you want to just simply change the values within our system, you can go ahead and do that. And you can save your changes. You can even change the color to match up your color scheme. And all of that will go into your infographic very nicely. And then you can always shrink down your graph or increase that. So that's one last thing that I did want to showcase. And again, people have may have your own logo, your own images that you would like to use, and that's perfectly fine. You can always upload any images that you already have. It's just nice to be able to have those objects and those stock photos already available in case you don't already have that in there, but you're always welcome to upload your own images. Okay, so with that, I know that I am out of time here, and you'll definitely want to maybe attend a more in-depth tutorial on how to use the design tool, or maybe you just have an individual question on a task. Reach out to our support team. We can certainly help you out with all of that. And I hope that this session here was a good starting point for you, especially if you're new to infographics and if maybe you were just a little unsure about whether or not you would be able to create one. I think my biggest tip here is maybe start small and see how you can create a visual based off of a small piece of information or something that you already have available to you. So maybe take a few minutes out of your day today or after today's webinar, think about content you already have, and how can you make that visual and play around with the tool and see what you can come up with. And then maybe start to take in all of the tips that we discussed here today to really create something for your audience. Okay, great. So I know some people are going to start to hop off because we are at top of the hour here, but I do know that we have questions that have probably come up through Crowdcast in the Q&A section. So I'm going to go ahead and take the time to address those. But for those of you who need to hop off or are closing out of the session, I do want to thank you for your time. I know that it's a lot to ask sometimes for people to take an hour out of your day, but I hope that taking an hour right now is going to save you time down the road and really get you started on something interesting. So excellent. Thank you so much, Lenore. I appreciate your feedback. And again, if you don't need to hop off, just hang out with us here and we'll go through some of the questions. And I know that Latasha's been really great in terms of answering some questions here already. Okay, so let me go back here. Okay, I'm sorry. I think my line was muted. I'm not sure if you were able to hear the last few seconds here. So infographics to communicate research findings. There are different ways to, of course, communicate that, and I hope that the 7 ways of communicating your information through an infographic was helpful and maybe thinking about that. If you have a lot of data from your research findings, maybe think about how you can break it up into smaller pieces of information that maybe you can release slowly through social media. It's very possible that different pieces of information will resonate differently with different people. So that also goes back to your target audience as well. Okay, how to realize animated infographics. So Easily doesn't have a way to make any of the infographics animated, but you can go ahead and integrate the YouTube videos into your infographic if you'd like, along with all of the other information. So hopefully that's helpful. The other thing is that if you do have any experience in using video to create videos, something like Camtasia, for example, you can go ahead and take the images that you build out through Easily and then upload those through your videos to be able to animate them in some way. Of course, that takes advanced technique, and you probably need to have experience with those video software. I know I've done that in instances, but within Easily, there's no way to do that. Okay, are infographics appropriate in a business plan, or should I just stick with charts and tables? So, we talked about the 7 types of infographics, and, you don't necessarily have to stick to one. I guess I didn't mention this earlier, but you can definitely integrate different types of infographics together. So if you have like the demographic information that you're looking to showcase, then how do you, think about how you can integrate that and provide some other information? Because, sometimes like business plan information, can get a little boring, of course, if it's a lot of raw data. So, it's definitely very appropriate to provide some visuals for other pieces of information that goes along with your business plan. Oh, great. And it looks like Latasha had an example. So thank you. Okay, infographics and non-profits. So yeah, so we kind of discussed a few ideas there. I think with the nonprofits, of course, is that you'll definitely want to put your call to action in your infographic and make sure that you're covering that. You definitely want to provide your message, and that is like the biggest tip, is just making sure that you have your call to action in the very end when you're creating an infographic for a nonprofit. Another thing that you can do, of course, is to, showcase what your impact is, whether it's on a monthly basis, quarterly basis, yearly basis. I did a webinar, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and we discussed ideas for an infographic ideas for infographics for businesses, but we kind of touched on nonprofits. But, you know, showcasing your impact, you know, how much have you raised in funding, or how many people have you reached? You know, any data numbers that you have, think about how you can communicate that visually for your audience. Can original infographics created with easily be used by for-profit companies? Yes. Yeah, so absolutely. You can go ahead and use any infographics that you create within Easily, and you can use them commercially if needed. So you absolutely can do that. I do highly recommend at that point getting the pro version, because you will have access to more objects, images, graphic icons that you can go ahead and really customize your infographic there and really make it unique to your business. Okay, is the pro version, is there an icon matrix chart? There isn't necessarily a chart that's available for the icons, but simply they are categorized and you can search for icons, of course, in that way. So that would be my suggestion and best way to really search for icons. Okay, where do I access the maps for the infographics? Okay, so with the maps, the icons, you can simply, when we search for objects, what you can do is just search for the geography. So if you're looking to enter a state or a country, do a search for that and see what pops up. The images that I showed, of course, came up as they were black graphics. But using that tip, as I showed you before, you can, if it's something that you can change the color of, you may be able to change it to blue or green or anything like that. So, and then also you can always upload your own images for geographies as well if you're not seeing what you need. So for drawing lines within Easily, we do have an area where you can go ahead and draw lines. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you really quick. That's in the draw section here. So you'll see that there is a way to add straight lines, arrows. You can add steps. You can add like a wave line. I think the squiggly lines question is in regards to maybe one of my slides that I have. While I used some of the icons from Easily, of course, to create that slide, the squigglies that I used in there were actually a tool that was in Google Slides. So I added that on top of my image that I created within Easily. So I hope that answers your question, but you do have some of those design tools here. And once you add a tool or like a line, so I just drew this line, you can, from here, change the color to, you know, a different color. So instead of red, you can change it to something like purple. You can change the weight of the line. So if you want to make it, let's say, a thicker line, you can go ahead and do that. Or maybe if you want to change the stroke of that line. So if you want to do like a dotted line, you can do that. You know, there's many different options. So my suggestion whenever you're using Easily is that, you know, sometimes people think that there are some limited ways to make changes. Click on the object that you want to see how you can customize it, and then take a look at this gray and white banner and see what's available to you. Things like opacity, in this case, the stroke, the weight of the line you can change, and even the color. And each object will vary depending on the type of object, so just keep that in mind. Okay, and let's go back to the original question. Let's see if I address that. Are your nonprofit rates for Canadian nonprofits as well? Yes, you can certainly go ahead and just email us, and we will provide you with that information. So the nonprofit rates and the teacher rates, student rates, those are all available to anyone around the globe. Okay, so yeah, so if you upload images, do they become part of the public domain? So if you have a pro account, your images are going to be private. If you have a free account, your infographic could be accessible through the homepage on Easily. So that is something that you will want to keep in mind. You know, I highly recommend that if you have particular images that you don't want them going out, you know, the pro account will really help you be able to keep those private. These are really great questions. And I'm glad that Latasha addressed some of these already. And the icon matrix, what I'm looking for is a demographic or population chart where 55% of women answered, the other 45% of men didn't. It can be shown in a chart that is automatically done and not done manually. So I think the chart option that I just showcased at the tail end is probably what you're thinking. And then that will automatically be generated based off of the information that you have here. And so then you don't have to like worry about scale if you're looking to create it yourself. And with something like that, with these two pieces of information for your chart, you don't need to upload a spreadsheet. Just go ahead and add these two values and maybe remove some of the value segments. So it's just the two. Change the color so it matches up with your infographic, and then just resize it for your infographic once it's loaded. So if you need any help with that, let us know, and we can certainly walk you through that. But again, check out the charts feature, and keep in mind that with a pro account, you'll have more types of charts that you can use for your infographic, whereas with the basic, you'll be limited with the types of charts that are available to you. Okay, so I think that is all of the questions, and we've gone past that time, but I did want to address those questions, and I know Latasha was kind enough to answer some of those for us already. So again, if you need to reach out to us at support@easily. Connect with us on social media. You can follow our blog, email me after today. I'm more than happy to help, or at least direct you to the information that you might need. And, if you found this really helpful, you can share a link to this webinar with your colleagues or your friends who might also be interested. We will be sending an email to everyone who registered with a link to the recording, as well as the slides and our blog post. So I just want to thank everyone for your time today. I really appreciate it. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you have a wonderful day.